All right, welcome to a very special edition, first ever happy hour live from Monmouth for the Haskell. Louie and Sean Collins of BloodHorse are there. They're like in this super swanky room. I'm Mike Gandalfo. I'm back in the humidity of Kentucky. I'll be playing the races, watching it on TV, and playing on my phone today. Super excited about the card, everything. But Louie, we've got to start talking about yesterday. Bill Gates almost ruined your day.
It was the whole thing. I got to say, the people I felt worse for. So I had like a 3.5-ish hour delay, something like that. Was still able to get here. Classic American diner dinner. Solid Reuben, by the way. Solid.
Really? I'm going to have to check that out then.
Reuben, yeah,
Make sure his switch is on, his microphone is on.
It is. Not working that loud enough?
Yeah, it tailed off a little bit there. I don't know why.
Okay, all right. I'll make sure I'm a little bit louder. Mike, right next to the face. Professionalism.
There we go. That's what I like to see.
That sounds a little too loud now, so I don't know if it's just the microphones or whatever, but it's all right. We're good.
All right. Well, this is a, and then wrote my piece about Baffert. Found that at the Sporting Tribune.
Wow.
Got it to Jersey Shore before sundown. How about that? Well, Bill Gates. Eat it. How about that? That's what I would say about that.
We're getting a little good morning for our buddy Trusty out there.
Hey, Trusty. Hey, Dennis.
Trusty was with us in Indiana for the Indiana Derby. Okay. Awesome. We love it with our fans. That's it. How this show can work, by the way. If you got a question about a race, if you got a comment, anything you want to put out there, if you want to share your picks when we talk about the races, you can do that. Louie, you just mentioned it. Baffert reinstated. Churchill trying to steal a little bit of the thunder from the Haskell, I guess, or just have it go under the rug. I don't know. Maybe that's what it's more like that. So Baffert is now going to be able to race at Churchill. Any thoughts on that?
Just that if Bob would like to do a radio interview in Louisville with a guy who has a show, I'm very available for that. So there you go. Well,
all right, I'm going to.
How about that? There we go.
Guaranteed, yeah. I almost think that you guys better share a mic.
Oh,
the difference is very severe between the two mics.
Oh, all right. How about that? Okay.
Yeah, and that sounds way better, Louie. People definitely want to hear what you have to say.
How about this? Is that a better
level for this mic?
No, you're better off going with Sean's.
Man, oh man. All right. Well, high level professionalism. Look at you interviewing me.
I know. Now I feel like I'm interviewing you. So this is gonna work out great. I thought this was your show, not mine.
No, it's definitely not. So there you go. All right. How about that? Baffert back. I think generally speaking, the real question for me, Sean, is he gonna have a Derby runner next year or those kinds of things? Will he follow the Urtons of the world, the O'Neills of the world, the D'Amatos of the world that have a string in Kentucky now? Because the purses, you have to, right? You have to. Is Baffert going to have to be one of these guys, or do his owners have enough money they don't care?
I think they have enough success out there on the West Coast where I don't necessarily think it's needed. I think definitely he would want to have a string at Churchill normally, but the question is, does he want to be at Churchill after everything that's happened over the last few years? So we're gonna have to wait and see. I mean, he used to have a barn back there, so we'll have to see if he gets one back.
We essentially watched Churchill call Saffie Joseph Jr., less than a murderer last year, and he was back this year full string and everything else. So I don't know why Baffert wouldn't be there at the end of the day. I think there's a decent chance, Mike, that his ownership just says, hey, we'd rather run for 120 than 55. That's a real thing, right?
And also it's cheaper. I mean, it's just cheaper to
that's right. The margins are considerably different. That's right.
Feed, everything is cheaper. And the funny thing is, I distinctly remember before all this stuff kind of shook out and went down, that he was kind of inching that way anyway. Like we were starting to see more and more Baffert. There was more scuttle about, whether or not he was going to be out here even more for more presence for his meets and stuff like that. And so, I mean, I think that it might take a little bit of time to get there, but at the end of the day, you can't pass up those purses. And when you look at the vet bill and the feed bill and just what it costs for the stable, and it's hard to pass up. So,
and you got more options there too. I mean, we've seen his success at Oaklawn over the winter. Being in the Midwest. If he's going to have horses at Churchill, and then around this time of year where he can just ship them from Kentucky over to New York or here for the Haskell in New Jersey, it's that just gives him a lot more options, a lot more playability.
And that's actually something we've been talking a lot about on this show. Is the travel for these horses is not as easy as it used to be.
Correct.
So going from the West Coast and bringing them to Kentucky or to Saratoga or whatever else is not easy, where Kentucky's just more of a centrally located place. And if you had a van to Saratoga, you can do that.
Yeah, here, West Virginia, Ohio, etc. I mean, there's a lot of spots that you can land in pretty easily from that center point of either Lexington or Louisville. Frankly, Turfway Park. Yeah.
Trusty wants to know: will he be as dominant at Churchill as he is in California? That might be a problem.
No, the percentages would go down, but that's field size related, not quality of horse related, right? I mean, you're just running against more horses.
Yeah. And you have a wider variety of trainers in the area too, compared to out west. It seems like everybody's getting out of out west right now. So I think definitely win percentage would go down.
By the way, fitting in with the locals, a little Duncan this morning. Little Duncan. How about that?
He's an East Coast person now.
Look at me. I'm just fitting in, people. Look at me.
Is Duncan Jersey though, or is it more New England?
It's more New England, but I mean, people definitely get Duncan here in this area.
17 Duncans within a mile of my hotel. That might be a slight exaggeration, but there are many.
How many of them are owned by John Calipari?
At least 15 of them. His daughter runs 3 of them.
I'm sorry for the local joke for all those people here watching on the national team. We are on YouTube. Let me reset real quick. Mike Gandalfo with Louie Rabaut, Horse Racing Happy Hours live at the Monmouth, and we're joined by BloodHorse today. Sean Collins of BloodHorse, a guy we didn't even know existed 3 months ago, and now has become one of our BFFs.
This is my 3rd time on now. You might as well start sending me the paycheck.
Subbed in. I mean,
we'll add a 0 to the left side of that paycheck for you. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
It's been a good partnership, and so now we're doing this for the first time ever. We're doing the cross promotion with BloodHorse. Really excited about it. So thank you all for tuning in on YouTube as we get the Twitter thing figured out. So the Twitter is still not allowing it, Louie, just FYI.
Correct.
We're working on it. We're working on getting Twitter back.
I paid the bill, people. I am not George Costanza. It's not that the check is in the mail. I actually paid the bill. I promise we'll get that figured out at some point.
Louie wanted very much to get that to get to the Jersey Shore to see the sunset. How was it? Did it disappoint?
No, the opposite. It was fantastic. And no, this part of New Jersey, I could live here. I could do this. I could do this for sure. No, it's nice.
An hour 45 from New York City, an hour 45 from Philadelphia.
Oh, I think it's an hour 15 to Manhattan by car here, something like that.
Pretty close, man.
I was
an easy drive.
Yeah.
I was in the Bronx last night for the Yankee game, and it probably took me, I think, an hour and a half to get here. Yeah, well, it wasn't bad. Yeah, it's not bad.
There's trains everywhere and all that stuff. No, it's nice. I like it here.
It's kind of where Sean grew up, like same kind of thing, kind of distance between both. You're like an hour from both, right? So,
yeah, I'd say an hour and 40 minutes from here in Pennsylvania, and then New York's probably about an hour 42 hours away. Philadelphia is about an hour. You got Baltimore not too far away. It's a good spot if you're looking to relocate.
So for you growing up as a kid, Sean, how tell a little bit about how Monmouth and because the Haskell was your first race, is that correct?
Yes, the Haskell was the very first race I ever attended in person. So this is my first track, so I love it dearly. That was the 2014 Haskell, and Bayern beat Untappable in that race. So I saw 2 Breeders' Cup winners that day, which was pretty incredible. And this is Haskell number 10 for me, so I'm pretty excited to be here. A nice monumental day.
Louie, you got to show Louie the ropes, and you got to see the Yankees get a win last night.
Thank God. I know. Thank God. I got to say, they do have a pretty good record when I'm there at attendance, so I'll take full credit for that one. And then if they lose today, that's the reason.
Are you a New Stadium or an old Yankee Stadium person?
What was that?
Are you a fan of new Yankee Stadium, or do you miss old Yankee Stadium?
I really like new Yankee Stadium. Now, to be fair, I only went to the old one twice, and it was when I was like 7 or 8 years old, so I don't remember too much of it. But I really like new Yankee Stadium. I think it's one of the best ballparks out there.
Yeah, I like it too. I never got to go to old Yankee Stadium for a game. I was just on the outside, but I did get to one new. I've been to one Yankees game in Yankee Stadium, so
I'm going into enemy territory next week. I'm going to be at Fenway for Yankees Red Sox. So So this might be my last show. I'm not sure if I'll make it out of there alive.
And that was Sean Collins. We're done. Okay, there we go.
That's right. Right. Okay, man. Let's get into it. Louie, let's talk a little bit about the history of this race. I mean, this is
grade one, man. We talk about it a lot on the show, Mike, about grading these races. You look at the list of winners of this race. This is a grade one of grade one.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. And if you want to talk down, the last 2 winners are Cyberknife and Go Rock and Ride, which were good 3-year-olds.
Oh yeah.
Mandaloon, Authentic, Maximum Security, Good Magic, Gervin, Exaggerator, American Pharaoh. I didn't skip anyone.
Right.
I didn't skip anybody. That's just the list, people. I mean, looking at Lucky, Rachel Alexandra, Big Brown, Bluegrass Cats on here, Roman Ruler, War Emblem, Point Given, Dixie Union, Menifee. I mean, it is Coronado's Quest list of who's who for sure.
And then you have to go even deeper, look at who's lost this race too. It's like you have even more impressive names sometimes that have lost this race in the past. So yeah, it's one of the best races out there. This is a perfect landing spot post Triple Crown.
I stopped before Serena Song and Holy Bull. I mean, that's the kind of race that this is. No, it's a spectacular grade 1.
And the really cool thing about Monmouth is all those winners, they're all down there in their lawn jockeys with the silks painted around. So if you want to walk around and see a lot of history on this track.
Forever, right.
Yeah, they're here forever. They don't repaint them like some tracks do. They got one for every single winner. So yeah, it's pretty cool to check out.
Fantastic, man. So there's definitely going to be a special day. Let's get into talking about the races a little bit. Anything else you all want to touch on before we start going through the card?
This is the Keeneland of New Jersey, man. It is. No, this and it's not just because we're sitting in a library, part of it. But no, it's really nice. It feels it feels nice, but cozy. Cozy, a good word? Yes. Is Monmouth cozy? Yeah, there you go. So it feels cozy. I like it here.
I like you had a comparison earlier about the Keeneland Pimlico combination. So explain that.
Just because of when they built this place, the architecture is whatever the racetrack architect was that built all these places, right? It feels like that, but they painted it since they built it. So that's different.
So it's not falling apart the way Pimlico is.
Some renovation has taken place. That is correct.
All right, we're going to start the race conversations with the 5th race, which is the Matchmaker. This is a 3-year-old. A $300,000 race for 3-year-old fillies and mares. For fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. I got to get with it today. It's grade 3. The Watchmaker, mile and an 1/8.
No changes in this one.
No changes in this race at all. The 7 right now is the favorite. I'll let you, with your French accent, pronounce that name just because I know you want to.
Hidden Beauty.
What is it?
Hidden Beauty. Beauté Cachet. Hidden Beauty.
Oh, I got you, 7. Okay, yeah.
I thought he was saying the wrong horse at first.
I did too. Yeah. Beauté Cachet. Are we going for the favorite, or are we going against? Actually, let's get Sean's take on this race first. I'm gonna let Sean start, and then I'll let you come in and hit cleanup on these, Louie.
Well, I just want to mention a little history about this race as well. This race got started all the way back at Atlantic City Racecourse, which is no longer with us, but I did drive past a couple years ago, and it's still standing. It's just very overgrown.
The turf course there is still nicer than Churchill's. How about that?
It doesn't take much. But so, yeah, very historic race. This is one of those unique ones where the top 3 finishers get breeding deals to some of the stallions at WinStar, who's the sponsor. I believe it says that those 3 this year are Nashville Global Campaign and 2 fills. So it's an interesting spot, an interesting race. You don't see that a lot. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
No, I was just saying that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's a hell of a list, yeah.
Yeah, that is a hell of a list. So yeah, obviously these 7 fillies and mares that are in here, there's a lot more on the line than just the purse today. For me, I'm against the favorite in this spot. I really like Delahaye, the other Chad Brown that's in this race. Well, one of the other Chad Browns that's in this race. 3 Chad Browns. Yeah, there's 3 Chad Browns. I don't know about the number 1 post position, but after her last race in the Mint Julep, I was able to talk to Tyler Gaffleone, who unfortunately is not on her today. He stayed at Saratoga for the day, but he said he thinks the sky's the limit for this filly. He's really impressed with her talent, and I'm hoping that's going to turn into a big win today.
I also agree. She's actually the horse to beat here. Mentioned her the other night on the happy hour that I think surprisingly is absolutely in the mix here at the end of the race. I think Irad Ortiz will give her a proper ride today. 0 for 4 this year, but has run second twice. Both of those in stakes company, both graded stakes company, frankly, at Gulfstream Park. And then I think this will set up well for her as far as the pace scenario, because she is going to need something to run at. Her best races, Sean, we see her in a stalking position. I think she'll be able to do that today. But yeah, I think if you leave Beauté Cachet off your tickets here, the 7, that's at your own peril. I mean, she won a grade 1. She's obviously a good horse. That Keeneland turf seems to travel to other places. Expect her to run a big race as well here.
Do you see her being on the lead, or do you think somebody else is going to be up there?
It's a great question. I think Delahaye may actually inherit the lead because you've got 3 horses that want to stalk, and someone's going to have to get it. we may be at a point in horse racing where Flavien Prat is as good at getting a lead and keeping it as anyone in the country. So look for Delahaye to get the trip that she wants.
And she's in the right spot if she wants the lead, because this is that weird kind of mile and an eighth at Monmouth where they kind of start in that little chute and then have that slight turn into the stretch. Yeah, it's like a 2.5 turner. So she's got a, if she gets good position on that rail, she might just end up with it. So we'll see if she can take them all the way.
And I know we talked a lot about, surprisingly, on the show, the 4-horse for Todd Pletcher. Trusty's telling us he likes the 3, and this is who I'm taking as well. The 3, Olivia Moralda, scratched out Wednesday, was 8-5 favorite. It's off the turf at Saratoga. So I agree with Trusty on that one. So should be a really good race. A lot of parity in that race to go in race 5. But Delahaye was the pick that we went with for the show. So race 6 is the Molly Pitcher Stakes. Sean, do you know who Molly Pitcher is?
I do not know.
Oh,
yeah.
Molly Pitcher there. It's kind of controversial, but I'm going to say she's a fictional character that kind of represents several different types of women that helped out during the Revolutionary War.
There you go.
So there you go. There's your history lesson today for Molly Pitcher.
I got you on the last race. You got me on this race.
The grade 3 mile and 16 dirt race, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. This race, to me,
big scratch here, I think, as far as trying to figure out your exacta if you wanted to play one here. If you think Idiomatic's the best, I do. Yeah. I think she's pretty clearly the class of this field. The horse that ran the best last race is Misty Vale. She ain't running today. And so this might set up, frankly, where Idiomatic is just going to get the trip she wants. Is Soul of an Angel good enough to compete here? We heard from our guy Johnny P on Thursday. He thinks Kathleen O will run the second best race here behind Idiomatic. The real question here is, if you want to make money today, this is one of those spots, Sean, where you play against a favorite. This is where you would make money in anything pick 3 or longer, essentially. Yeah. But I don't see the scenario in which she doesn't get it done again today, because I think even with that run at Saratoga last out, I'm not holding that against her too much. She's always right there at the line. She doesn't ever win by open legs either. It's just how she runs. I expect her to get back to the winner's circle today.
Yeah, I mean, I thought.
Just so we finish up the changes. Just as big as Misty Vale is Just Catherine is also scratched out of this race. Yeah. Both of them would have been kind of contenders to hit the board in this race. So Just Catherine, the 3, Misty Vale, the 5 out of this race. Idiomatic coming off that loss, trying to rebound here and get the dub. So go ahead, Sean.
Well, those 2 scratches, I mean, that shows you what the field thinks of Idiomatic, because both of them are choosing to run in the Shoe V tomorrow at Saratoga instead of this spot here. So they're looking for, an easier spot. You wouldn't think, it's a grade 2 tomorrow versus grade 3 today. So you wouldn't think that's an easier spot, but higher purse in this race today. So it draws Idiomatic. Brad Cox, I talked to him on Wednesday. He's very confident about this race with her. I still think, even though she lost last time out, I thought she was still the best horse in that race. In my opinion, she should have been horse of the year last year. Had I had a vote, I would have voted her. I think she's still the top mare in this division. If she gets beat today, I'm going to be very surprised, and I will be losing a lot of bets to have her in it.
Sean, I would like to offer, if you're interested, to nominate you to something called the National Turf Riders and Broadcasters.
We'll work on that ahead of Breeders' Cup. Yeah. I just have to have the time once all these travels.
I would like to write a letter for you if I can. How about
I appreciate that. Yeah.
You shouldn't get one from that bum Gandalfo, but you should get one from me. Yeah, there you go.
Whatever.
We'll get both just in case.
I don't even know how to write. But I'm still learning my ABCs.
There we go. But the horse that intrigues me the most in this race is Kathleen O, just because, she was undefeated going into the Kentucky Oaks. There were a lot of people that were on her bandwagon when she was in that race a couple of years ago. Were you on her bandwagon?
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
And she just, once she lost in the Oaks, and she didn't run a bad race in the Oaks, but it's just, she wasn't the same horse afterwards, and she won last time out, finally, again, for the first time since then. So I'm hoping that she's maybe starting to round back into form. So I still don't think she's going to be able to beat Idiomatic, but if I was playing, I don't think we're going to get the 10-1 that's on her either, especially with the scratches, if you're playing the exacta. But, I think she's probably the most intriguing other horse compared to Idiomatic.
All right, so Idiomatic, Trusty saying that Idiomatic is a bigger lock than Torpedo Anna today. We said Torpedo Anna was 1-20, and
she should be here in the Haskell. That's my opinion. I said that after the Acorn. She should be in the Haskell today, but
might be in the Travers, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I thought this was a better. I mean, this was at the time when Mystic Dan was still in the running for the Travers, but I thought this would have been the perfect spot for her to test the boys And then if it didn't work out, then you jump back into the Alabama. But I guess Kenny McPeak wasn't thinking the same way.
Yeah. I think that you're going to see two just big time filly performances, whether it's Torpedo and at Saratoga or Idiomatic here. I mean, you're going to.
Who wins by more lengths?
Oh, Torpedo Anna, it's not even close. Idiomatic just doesn't win by open lengths. She just doesn't do that.
But this field also isn't what she's usually running.
What she does. It's not what she does. I'm telling you, Torpedo Anna could. I mean, it could be a pole today.
And
it
Sean,
could absolutely be a pole.
Sean brought up the point. Obviously, Idiomatic doesn't need any more breeding stock as far as getting a grade 1 win or whatever else, or a grade 2 win. And once they get to that point, man, they're chasing purses, and I think that's where you're seeing that for sure, and that's why you see the fields here.
I mean,
are super high quality.
To defend Kenny McPeak here, he knows no one wants to be in a race with his horse, and he's going to get a $300,000 check when she wins.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the right thing to do for his operation. So I'll defend him on this.
And a grade 1.
And it's a grade 1. No, that's exactly right. It's not like he's hiding.
And
right?
And you win today. And I mean, it's already locked up in my opinion. But you win today, it guarantees no matter what happens the rest of the year, she's 3-year-old filly champion too. Three grade 1. She could get beat by somebody else down the line, but she wraps it up with a win today.
Race 9 is the Wolffield Stakes for 3-year-olds and up. It is a 5.5 turf sprint. So let me make sure I got my scratches out of this race. The scratches that are coming out of race 9, this is the only listed stakes out of all the stakes races state. The 10, which is a big, somewhat of a big scratch. Barstiz and the Bold is out, and as is the 11, Spun and 1. So the 10, 11 out of this race. I know that we were really looking at Arzak pretty heavily on the show, and nothing better. Louie, has your thoughts changed on this race at all?
No, not at all. I think those two are definitely the ones to beat. I lean way more on Arzak. This is the kind of race, once in a while, Sean, you see a race on a card and you see a name like Irad next to it. This is the kind of race he just doesn't lose.
Yeah.
Right? This is the one where he's willing to be a bully. He's willing to do the stuff, the IRAD stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever the IRAD stuff is, this is the kind of race where he's willing to go ahead and do those sorts of things. I think he's absolutely the favorite here. I would be stunned if he's not 9 to 5, 8 to 5 at post time. It feels like that kind of number, but you can't knock nothing better. And this is a horse ran really well in that Mighty Bow last out under Gerardo Corrales. With all respect to the Ruiz and the Duarte connection here, Corrales is an underrated rider, man. Won a Breeders' Cup race. I mean, he's a legitimate great turf sprint rider. It's not a step down in that way, but it's not the same level as Gerardo last out. This horse, though, is, has won a turf sprint at Aqueduct, at Churchill Downs. And so, just a, third in the form cycle here, I think really does set up well for that horse. If you're looking to fill out the rest of your card here in this race as well, maybe Outlaw Country could be that play for you. 7-1 here. You do get Vincent Chemino, who rides a lot at Monmouth Park in the Mid-Atlantic here. Has been running an optional claiming sort of level here, which is a lot of their allowance races here at Monmouth Park. Ran really well last time. 102 and change is a winning time if that horse can run that back. I'm wondering if that's a horse that you include in your trifectas today.
Sean, what are your thoughts?
Well, when I first read the entries for this race, I did a double take when I saw Arzak's name because I was not expecting a horse of that caliber in this race. And then I did another double check when I saw he was only 5-2 in here. I think I might go on the record to say I think he might be a bigger lock than Idiomatic is, which or at least at the same level. Because, I think he just, class-wise, I think he just towers above this field. I mean, he was second last out to Cogburn when Cogburn ran what might have been a world record in that distance. I know he's had 2 really good graded wins at Keeneland, and I was lucky enough I was at Keeneland for both of those races and was very impressed by them. Irad didn't ride him last time. Jaime Torres did, and I talked to him when he got back to Churchill after that Saratoga at Belmont meet, and he said that he thinks really highly of this horse as well. And obviously getting Irad back aboard, so I'm not going to be. Yeah, that's going to be.
Do you
pretty
agree
good.
with that? Do you agree with myself?
Oh, yeah.
That once in a while with him, there are certain races he's just not going to lose. This feels like one of those.
Yeah, this feels like one of them.
You meant something else, Louie. I thought you meant Irad's going to do Irad things. I thought he was going to punch Paco Lopez or something like that. Or
yeah, well, that's Irad things. Yeah,
it's a big day. You got to have your entertainment out there. We got to put something on
Irad. We're just joking. We're not going to give you too much crap for punching Paco Lopez or get suspended. So
the only thing I worry about with Arzak is he's not going to be that close to the pace, I don't think. So if it gets too slow and somebody gets loose on the lead, that could be where he potentially gets beat. But I think Like when I'm playing my multi-race wagers later, he's going to be a single for me.
33% of the time I read and Michael Trombetta team up, it ends up in a W. So or 33% of the time. So there you go. They hit the board something like, let me gotta do some quick math here. I don't want to hurt myself. 2/3 of the time they hit the board. So pretty good pick there. With
the big
Arzak.
show bet is in play for Arzak today for sure.
Yes, it is.
We're gonna see several of those show bets in different races across the way, I guess.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on to the 10th race, which is the Monmouth Cup here. Mile and eighth, 3-year-olds and up on the dirt. This race we hit from we have no changes.
Correct. Yeah, no, I'm excited about that actually.
Yeah, that's surprising. Tapit Trice has been scratching out of every race he's been entering in this year.
We weren't going to see him today. I actually just want to see him in person, see how he looks. This layoff, I like the spot. I think it's a good spot. It makes sense to land here. He's just not in the form that Highland Falls is in right now. So I'm reticent about that, but man, I'm excited to see him today. I'm like you. I'm glad to see he's not scratched out. Yeah.
Well, and the last race that he scratched out of was the race that Highland Falls won, the blame. So, he's coming off that big win. Tapit Trice is coming back from that layoff. I'm going to stay away from Tapit Trice today. I think we were actually, the last time I was on was right before that race, and I said I was going to stay away from him that day. I just need to see how he comes back from the layoff before I'd consider using him at all. Because I felt like he was kind of tailing off towards the end of last year. And all the scratches that he's had, he scratched out of the Ali Sheba, he scratched out of the blame. It just, that just throws a red flag up there to me. Now, this is definitely the right spot to come back in if you're going to come back in a graded race.
Totally agree.
But I just need to see him prove something today before I would consider him.
How many guys today do you think you hear talk about how this race used to not be run here?
Probably quite a few.
Little Meadowlands talk. Yeah. Like you think of a lot of Meadowlands talk.
Yeah, there might be a little Meadowlands talk out here.
Oh, great. I got to hear about the Meadowlands today. Stage Raider's my second horse in here. The one horse. Like him a lot here. Back off the layoff, last out in that Salvatore mile. I think just getting his legs under him again. 20% second off the layoff for Cherie DeVoe, who seems to lately, man, she is not missing with placing her horses in stakes races. She's been spectacular. And so I don't think this is an accident. Jose Ortiz makes the trip for this one. I am fascinated to see how he runs today. That Salvatore mile was really slow. I'm wondering this horse, if he doesn't want a little bit more pace in the race to run at, not a dead closer, but, mid-pack kind of runner. I think if you try to fill out an exotic with Highland Falls, I would definitely look at Stage Raider.
And I think Jose Ortiz being aboard him, that definitely helps quite a bit. And, he's the kind of horse that you really, really want to be good because, his dad is American Pharoah's dad. His mom is Justify's mom. So, you have that kind of regal pedigree there. So you really, really want him to be a good horse. He just hasn't been able to put that forward yet at the graded level. And, maybe today's his breakout day. I think, Highland Falls is going to be a tough customer, but I think he, when you're looking for that second horse, if you're staying away from Tapit Trice like we are, I think that's definitely a good horse to go with. I like Surface to Air a little bit in here too. 3 straight wins that he's coming off of. He's been gradually increasing in class in those 3 races. But if you're kind of looking for, that horse that might surprise you, get in there behind Highland Falls, I think that might be a horse to look at.
Love it. So what do you think Tapit Trice, if he's 2-1 morning line, what do you think he goes off at?
I'll go somewhere between 5-2 and 3-1.
I think he might float up to 5-1. I haven't really heard anybody talk that confidently about him, so we'll see.
I mean, let's talk about
Irad or Todd is always going to get money.
That's true.
And so I think it'll do that. I'll stick with 3-1. I think that's the number.
Yeah, I mean, you got some serious horse players out here too, right? I mean, so you got the money. It's not like Derby Day where you got just a lot of casual.
You're right about that part.
Yeah,
you're right about that part.
All right, we're gonna move on to Louie's favorite race, the United Nations.
He
loves turf route races. This is a 1 3/8 on the turf, 3-year-olds and up. Grade 2 United Nations. Solid field here in this one. I thought it was really chalky. Louie, you got a play here that you love, but we're gonna let Sean go first. Let me get the.
I wanted to ask Sean because he and we discussed before the show. We have the same top pick here, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And, I wanted to ask you: is this the best field of the day? It is for me.
From a betting perspective, definitely. Yeah, no question. This is the best field of the day from a betting perspective because a lot of the races we've already talked about, the Haskell, I feel like are going to play pretty chalky. But this is the race where I think you could possibly land a price because all the favorites that are in this race. Well, first of all, the morning line.
Talking Mike. There you go.
Yeah, the morning line favorite's 4-1 in here, so that shows you that there's quite a bit of a consistent level among all the horses. But yeah, Louie and I are on the same horse here, and that's Get Smokin', the 3, who is 12-1 morning line, which probably, if we're both circling in on him, that probably means we're not getting 12-1. But this horse really impressed me at Kentucky Downs when he won that race last year. He was going to be actually one of my plays in the Breeders' Cup, but he ended up not making it. Came back in his last start, took the lead, got tired late. I'll give him a pass on that one. First off, a long layoff. I think he's going to be good to go today.
I agree.
We're scratching the 8 here, by the way, so high. It's scratched out of the race. We'll make sure we get all those changes in there. No other changes in this race.
Sean, if someone tried to make the case for him, I would have been like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So that's not a scratch of major consequence for this race.
Well, for me, I think it might have been because he's the only other one that kind of really showed any kind of pace
Okay.
that I felt like in the race. So I felt like he was making me a little cautious about whether or not to go with Get Smokin'. If he put too much pressure on him with him out there, I'm all in on Get Smokin'.
Yeah,
So,
I think Farbridge is a worthy favorite in this field. I'm fascinated with Tawny Port. And look, if Web Slinger wins this thing, are we stunned?
No,
right?
I love Web Slinger. He's going to come running like he always does. I don't think the pace is going to set up for him to get there.
Okay.
But, I definitely think he's going to get into that trifecta potentially. And if he wins, I'm not going to be shocked. It just means the pace was probably faster than I was expecting it to be if he wins. But if the pace is fast enough, I think he's definitely probably the livest closer that's in here.
I mean, honestly, when you see a favorite come into a race at 4-1, that's a big number, right? So there's several horses in here that you're not going to be surprised if they win, and that makes this a very interesting betting race. And this is a race where you can make some money,
No question, no question. And then horse like Get Smokin', if you're willing to really take a stand here in your multis, you could really get a payoff. That's right. Yeah.
And especially circling him in with all the other favorites that you have on the card that you might be liking, that's a good horse to kind of bring the cash in on your multi-race wagers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid race, solid field here, and this is to Louie's point, and this is something we talked about. John Piazzik was on the show Thursday with us, and he's taught me a lot about ticket construction. And like, this is a race where you take a stand, and if you get beat, you get beat, but you could also knock out some tickets if you take a stand. And so it's also a race. So if you try to say, well, I'm going to spread. Well, your ticket's going to cost you a ton of money at that way too. So you just got to be very careful with your ticket construction on what you do on this race. So we're going to move on to the main event. The only scratch out of the Haskell is Fierceness, which was predicted. We didn't even really talk about him on the show Thursday. It was probably
what he scratched.
Dornoch though is running.
Let's do this real quick though. Would you consider Fierceness a potential winner of this race, or would you treat him like Tapit Trice?
I would consider him a winner just because it's his every other race. It's his turn to run well, and I would like him coming in off the layoff. I thought this was a 2-horse race off the entries between him and Dornoch, and now that Fierceness is out of there, I'm looking at Dornoch.
You're looking at Dornoch. You're off the mind frame, huh?
I'm not on the mind frame bandwagon yet. I might be after today. We'll see. But everybody was talking about how great of a race he ran in the Belmont. He was obviously very green in the stretch there. I don't think if he stayed straight, I don't think he was going past Dornoch because Dornoch's a fighter and he's proven that before. And so I don't think he was going to go past him in that race no matter what. And I also, he was so green in the stretch of the Belmont. Who's to say he's not going to do the same thing again today? Everybody's kind of expecting, well, he did that last race, he'll be fine today. Well, what if he's not? And Dornoch breaking from the rail, I think he has to go. He's going to be up front. I think this track usually plays well to that running style, especially for a race like this. And I just think if he's in front turning for home, I don't think you can pass him. I give him passes for both the Bluegrass and the Kentucky Derby because he was not in the spot that he wanted to be at in either of those races. Finally gets his more preferred trip in the Belmont. He goes out there and wins. And I was always on his bandwagon last year as a 2-year-old that he was the more impressive of the two in the Remsen between him and Sierra Leone because, he kind of made that weird move where he bounced off the rail. I think that's the only reason Sierra Leone got to him that day and got his head in front, and then he battled back. So I've been on the Dornoch bandwagon for a while, and I think this is a race that sets up perfectly for him. And I'm more interested in seeing what Timberlake will do at a 1.1 1/8 to see whether or not the last race was just kind of an outlier in the Arkansas Derby or whether he's going to end up, being kind of right there on that level.
It's interesting you bring up Timberlake that way because that horse to me today is actually Tuscan Sky. Can you do it again? Is my question with him, right? Can you show back up? Can you run that race that you ran? The good news for Tuscan Sky is he did it here.
Yeah.
He did it in Monmouth, right? That matters to me. I'm a horse for course guy in my handicapping. That matters to me. And so I'm interested to see if he can do it again. That was a bizarre race, 5 wide around both turns. I don't know that I've ever seen that in a non-turf stakes race, at least, where they're all packed up like that. I disagree with you about Mindframe. I think he will take a step forward today, but I have Dornoch on top as well. How about that? And so I see this race the same way that you do. I think what we're doing with Dornoch is unfair because he didn't run in the Preakness. Yeah. If people are acting like he did, they're acting like he's a Mystic Dan or if he's a Seize the Gray, something like that, where they could probably benefit from a little bit of time off after that, cluster of races in a couple of weeks. Dornoch's not like that, man. Yeah. And one of the things that I've written about with this race is where it is in the schedule after the Belmont and ahead of the Travers. This is kind of the great spot. 5 weeks off, right? Essentially. And so I think we're doing the thing where, he ran in the Belmont. He's tired.
Well, and it was 1.25 miles. It wasn't 1.5 miles.
Yes, this as well, right? So it's not like he had to do the test of the champion and now he's coming back. It's the opposite, frankly, right? He ran 1.25 miles, cuts back in distance even further today. No, I'm with you. I think getting on the lead, I think he's got a legitimate shot to win today.
And last year as a 2-year-old, he got better as he kept racing throughout the year. And then I know a lot of people kind of jumped off the bandwagon, even though he won the Fountain of Youth because it didn't look that strong. But his first race off a layoff, now he's getting the races under his belt. I think we could see a career best performance from him today.
Let's take it through the race. The way I see it, you're gonna have Dornoch and Mindframe are gonna be 1-2. Going into that first turn. I actually think they could be having a little bit of separation even between the next pack that has Tuscan Sky in it and stuff like that. So, really the way the race is going to shape out to me, it's like those two get out front, they stay out front, and they're going to challenge each other pretty much very similar to what happened in that Belmont, right? And so then it does come down to that maturity. Do we see the maturity on Mindframe? Does he drift out? Does he just lock in and we see these two horses coming down and then do you see a Tuscan Sky stalking and that pace is a little too frenetic and he comes in and gets the W? Do you see a horse like C Streak doing maybe something similar? It's going to be, to me, it's fascinating because those two horses could push themselves pretty high. I guess you got to put Timberlake in there too. Although I think in Timberlake's case, 8-1, everyone's kind of looking at that horse as like the value play. What do you think Timberlake actually goes off at? 6-1, 5-1?
Without a fierceness, 6-1 sounds right. Yeah, I think the Cox Pratt thing will get enough money that 6-1 sounds right. 5-2, 5-1, 6-1.
Well, I think a lot of people are just going to take notice of the fact that he's in this race, and that might be like, what does Brad know that why is he in this race off of that layoff? So I think a lot of people are going to look at that, and obviously Brad's got a lot of confidence to put him in this spot.
I think it's worth pointing out, other than the Indiana Derby, has he won a major 3-year-old race this year? Other than Timberlake winning, not the
Brad,
Brad, yeah. I mean,
Catching Freedom, Louisiana Derby.
Okay. But I mean, as far as the major derbies, once we got to the Kentucky Derby, I mean, we're waiting for that horse, whichever 3-year-old is in that Cox barn. The same way we haven't seen it with Baffert this year, right? There just isn't that, Muth wins in Arkansas and then he goes to the farm. I mean, like, it's an interesting year that way where we're not seeing those two guys with major players in these summer derbies.
But I think today might be the breakthrough day.
Yeah.
The summer derbies is where Brad usually does place horses. I mean, we saw that with Dragon Guard. Yeah, and so I think that's where we're going to start seeing that maybe Timberlake is that. I think we saw the best of Timberlake, and I just don't know if he's going to answer the call to join this.
So I need you to
3-year-olds.
I'm going to sit over here for a minute, and I want you to have a moment with Mike about Hot Rod Charlie's DQ here.
Oh my God.
and Mike's going to start crying a little. It's okay. But I want you to walk through that race and what that felt like, because that was, I don't want to say like the people's horse, but people really liked Hot Rod Charlie, right? It was one of those horses. Very personal for Mike. Talk us through that day.
Well, I need to give the whole backstory though to Sean. Do you think he needs the backstory? Yeah. All right. So we're at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at Keeneland, right? And I see Hot Rod Charlie. And Hot Rod Charlie's like 96-1 in that breed. I mean, he was
massive.
My grandfather, whose name is Charlie, owned a car dealership. So and it's the oldest Lincoln Mercury dealership in the country. And ironically enough, Louie doesn't know this yet, but the Monarch Auto Company in Louisville, Kentucky on Brook and Broadway and they've been closed for almost 25 years. And my wife saw one of the license plate holders for that dealership driving around town, which means someone had to intentionally take it off a car and put it on their next one. And so my grandfather Charlie taught me a lot about business from that standpoint, about how important relationships are and treating people right, and then they'll treat you right. And so anyway, so I always bet across the board usually. Well, Hot Rod Charlie was such a big long shot. I was like, well, I'm not going to waste my money. I'm just going to bet him to win. And of course, he comes in second. But then I would
$5 to win. If he goes $2 across the board, he's like golden.
Wow.
So, but then
you were here for the DQ.
I was.
Yeah,
What was
go
the
ahead.
crowd reaction, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that race was, well, first of all, I think it was, you mentioned how Hot Rod Charlie was such a fan favorite. So was Midnight Bourbon. And, it was also, Mandaloon at that point. You didn't know if he was the Derby winner or not because they had you knew about Medina Spirit, but they hadn't disqualified him yet. So, it was a pretty big crowd that day, as it always is for Haskell. But I just remember, seeing them turn for home, you're like, all right, this is going to be one of those epic races where all three of them are in contention. And you just see, Midnight Bourbon's head go down and Paco go flying, and the crowd was stunned. I watched them hit the finish line to see who won. I think I was the only person that actually saw the finish because everybody was watching Paco, Midnight Bourbon, but luckily everybody was okay at the end of it. But I mean, as soon as they put that replay up, I knew it was probably he was going to get disqualified. I think he was by far the best horse in that race, but I enjoyed it personally from the historical standpoint.
By far the best horse in that race, right?
I just enjoyed it from the historical standpoint of the fact that Mandaloon became probably one of, if not the only horse to win 2 major grade 1s by disqualification. Yeah. So, I liked it from that perspective. I thought that was kind of funny, but yeah, I think I felt so bad for Hot Rod Charlie, and then he got his revenge on, well, I guess Midnight Bourbon in the Pennsylvania Derby after that, but almost knocked the rider off there too. But yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we got the replay going on right now, and
the crowd was just like that audible gasp whenever something happens. That's exactly what happened in the middle of the stretch.
Hey Louie, was this crop of 3-year-olds in this year in 2021? Was this a group of 3-year-olds that was better than we thought, and we just didn't fully appreciate them?
It's 100% what it was. It was a nice group of horses. They just didn't race very long.
Well, and the Medina Spirit thing just overshadowed everything that happened that year. But, you had such a good horse in Essential Quality, and then you had this strong supporting cast of these 3. You had Medina Spirit in there and all sorts of other 3-year-olds.
Yeah, I mean, and I honestly feel like, we talked about it a little bit on Thursday, that this class of 3-year-olds, because we got some latecomers.
Here it comes.
We got all kinds of things that are kind of going on here with oh geez, it's so hard to watch.
It is so hard.
It really is.
Thank God everybody was okay after that.
Who was the jock at Hot Rod Charlie? I can't remember now.
I think it was Flavian. I want to say it was Flavian.
Let me see if I can figure that out real quick. But we got a group of 3-year-olds here that we might be underappreciating as well. We also got a group of 3-year-olds that just might be pretty average. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's going to play out.
A lot of people see parity as like a sign of a weak crop when a lot of horses are taking turns, and that can be the case a lot of times. But there's also a certain point where, in this kind of crop, I feel like it's the same horses that are kind of together on that. So that when it's the same horses and you don't have that random, I mean, obviously Mystic Dan was a long shot in the Derby, but you have a lot of long shots in the Derby. Dornoch was a long shot in the Belmont, but he had the resume in his past where he was a good horse. So you're seeing kind of like the same, maybe 8 to 10 horses that are kind of on the top. And I think to me, that's what separates it from just being an average group to being a good group. You just got a lot of really good 3-year-olds in the same year.
I think you're also, and Mike, we talked about this on Thursday. What if Forever Young is the best 3-year-old and he comes back stateside, wins a couple races in the fall? What if, is it City of Troy, excuse me. What if City of Troy's his horse, right? He gets over here, runs in the Travers, runs in the Breeders' Cup Classic, this kind of stuff. Maybe we just haven't seen all of the best of these horses yet. You think of like an Essential Quality. His best running came later in the year. right? So it's not unusual for these 3-year-olds. You think of a gun runner, going back a little bit further than that, even, if someone's not great in the spring, we forget about them, but it doesn't make them not a good 3-year-old or make the crop any worse, right? Gun runner's crop was great because he ran well as a 5-year-old. Like, that matters, right? And so I think that's the thing we might get from this crop is we might get a really good 4 and 5-year-old year. Mystic Dan was bred for 10 Gs. They're not running off to the breeding shed with him. Right. What's the ironic thing is they might run off with Seize the Gray because Arrogate's not around anymore.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we might actually see that before Mystic Dan, the Derby winner, heads off. So, no, I mean, I think we're going to get what we've been begging for the last couple of years, which is a 4 and 5-year-old class of older dirt males that go to turns out of this group when we might not have seen that beforehand.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you're also looking at, like, when we get to the Breeders' Cup later in the year, there's not really, if I'm one of these 3-year-olds and a National Treasure is really good, but I'm not afraid of him if I'm a 3-year-old going into the Breeders' Cup Classic. There's no older horses at this point where I would be afraid to run against them in that race. So I could see where the 3-year-olds might take over. You think back to 2014 when Bayern won the Classic and the 3-year-olds, I think, finished in all the top 6 spots in that race, or it was like 5 of the 6 spots. I think this could be one of those years where the 3-year-olds show up against the older horses later in the year and then take over the division going into next year.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking forward to. I mean, I guess we're going to have to let it play out, see how awesome of that 4-year-old, this 4-year-old bunch is next year, because it could be a lot of fun if we've got several 4-year-olds that are contending for the Breeders' Cup Classic next year and all these other major races. And it does seem like it could be shaping out that way. So, okay. Louie, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
What is your favorite bet of the day? Not like your most likely winner, but like the one that you're most excited to place. And by the way, can people go to the Gold Book?
It's already up.
All right.
Yeah, so First Gen Sports, head over there. The link, I'm putting it on Twitter as soon as this is over.
Okay.
I do think Get Smokin' Win Place is my favorite bet today because I think he absolutely finishes top 2.
Okay. You can make some money on that bet right there for sure.
No question. Yeah. I love a win place bet if people are new to the show, if they're hanging out with us for the first time. By the way, appreciate you jumping in. We're on every Thursday. The win place is my favorite bet. If I'm casual day at the track, want to do 5 and 5, that's my play for sure. Those kinds of bets. So I think that's one here. I might go check out, honestly, about him, because they have the fixed odds booths here. I might go check out the fixed odds on Get Smokin' today.
Ooh, you get to place a fixed odds bet.
I do. Yeah, so I'm going to check that out today for sure.
Let me know what that price is.
Yeah, I will let you know. Yeah. So
you know what? That brings up the point of why I think the fixed odds bet is a interesting bet, because right now you're pretty much still getting morning line, right? And so
hard to know. Yes, right.
Come out and you make a bet before the odds adjust for the scratches, and you could really come out really strong on a.
Or the parimutuel number might be better, right? So actually, it's something that you have to watch. Where if he goes up to 15, 16 to 1 for some reason, maybe Sean and I see something that other people don't. Who knows? I doubt it. But I think it's the kind of thing that like it might tick up in the parimutuel side, and it's not as good on the fixed side. But I'm going to be watching that for sure.
Yeah. So well, I've totally forgot about the whole fixed odds play that you get to go out there and do.
By the way, took my hat off earlier. I think it's amazing. This show always happens during the national anthem. Always. It's amazing. Yeah, always.
We're always right before the first race. I guess that's one of the reasons why, which they're getting ready. They're about 10 minutes away from the first race, 12 minutes or whatever.
Cool.
So
yeah, you're good.
I'm really kind of curious too, just the takeout rates on these pick 4, pick 5 plays today. Respectable 15%. Is that what?
Very playable. Yes, very playable.
So and then it could be chalky. And but if you're looking for the races besides the Get Smokin', where else do you feel like you could really get a price to kind of
at that point you're looking around the card and you're making decisions if you want to beat a Delahaye and a Botte Cachet, for example, in that first stakes race, or if you think Idiomatic for some reason is actually vulnerable today. The other spot might be if Tapit Trice does go up to like the 4-5 to 1 kind of number that we think, but you think he's got a legit shot here, maybe that's a good spot for you too, right? And so, especially that's one where the fixed odds I think will be worse than the parimutuel odds. And so I would be watching the parimutuel odds on him. But otherwise, look, that United Nations, man, if we think a 12 to 1 horse is fully capable of winning that one, You're going to get a price in that no matter what. Farbridge, I mean, at a favorite, what, 7-2?
Yeah.
Right.
Web Slinger 7-2, that kind. No way. And so, in those kinds of cases, man, you're going to get a legit shot of the United Nations at an 8, 10, 12 to 1 horse that's got a really serious shot to win.
All right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys being there. Any parting words before we sign off and let you all enjoy the day?
Your first race, 10th time. Yeah. You got to come on, man.
10th time. I know. I'm excited. Yeah. The first race that I've been to 10 times. So,
all right.
Yeah, that's
Sean,
this is always
where they can find you too, by the way.
Yeah, so definitely check out bloodhorse.com. That's the best place to see a lot of, updates, all the places that I'm going and stories that we're writing. You can also check me out on YouTube at APharoah12, like spelled American Pharaoh, the Triple Crown winner. Don't spell it like that's actually supposed to be spelled. But so you can check me out there on YouTube. On Twitter, you can follow me at either at APharoah12 or at BH_S Collins, something along that. It'll be tagged on. I know you've tagged it a couple times, but on my BloodHorse Twitter account as well. But yeah, it's going to be a great day. I always say this is my second favorite race day. Look forward to every year.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward for you guys as well. I know that another thing that I keep on telling people, like if you're trying to get into the sport and a good way to kind of follow it on a daily basis is BloodHorse puts out a daily newsletter. So it's really just easy to consume. It's got some good data at the end of the thing, but just some quick stories just so you know what's going on in horse racing. And Sean contributes to that newsletter as well. So check out that daily. You can subscribe to it. It comes right to your email. It might look intimidating because it might be like 20-something pages when you open it up, but it's really it's a lot easier to consume than that. There's you got to pay the bills. There's some ads in there, right?
Exactly. Well, and speaking of new people joining into the sport, I always say this is probably one of the best race days you could bring your friend that knows nothing about racing to and get them excited about horse racing. This is one that I've brought people to in the past. This is, this has all the fun and atmosphere that you would expect out of a horse race, and you have the talent level of great horses here every year on Haskell Day. So if you've never been to the Haskell before, make sure you definitely come check it out. And you can read all the recaps and everything from today on BloodHorse's website and the daily.
What's the next? So you've now been to, I think I know the answer. You've been to a lot of big race days now. What's the next big race day that you want to get to?
Sean told me he's going to the King's Plate in a couple of weeks. I'd love to get up to Woodbine and check that out.
Okay. I would have thought that it would have been Belmont Day, or at least Belmont weekend. Because the Met Mile,
I do want. Okay, but that's a couple years from now. I got to plan a trip for next summer. Maybe we'll do a little King's Plate. Which, by the way, to me, it'll always be the Queen's Plate. You understand me? For the first 42 years of my life, it was called the Queen's Plate, and I'm sticking with that. You understand me?
It's not going back for a lot of years.
You know what? In Louisville, we tell people where things are based on where they used to be. It's the Queen's Plate forever. How about that? Deal with it. The old Sears building, eat it. Let's go.
The White Castle on Eastern Parkway and Barstown Road.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. We're right next to the Toy Tiger. All right. You guys, hope you all win some money, have some fun, and I miss you guys. I wish I was there. And you make sure you check out the Horse Racing Happy Hour Thursdays. We go live. Maybe we'll be back on Twitter, but not subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is more reason to get the YouTube channel out there. All right. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right. See ya.
See ya.